My guest is James Chappell, CTO and co-founder of Digital Shadows. Welcome, James.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
James, Digital Shadows used to talk about cyber threat intelligence, which is, I guess, the category, right? But lately you've been talking about situational awareness, cyber situational awareness. What's the differentiation and why'd you shift that direction?
Our clients are interested in what's going on around them. They want to know what tactics are being used by those around them and what they should do to align their defences. The term situational awareness comes from the military. So just as you might imagine, a general stood on top of a hill with a pair of binoculars trying to work out where to place his assets in the field and to work out what's going to come over the horizon at those assets. That's really, we think, a good way to look at how you defend a business.
So what exactly, well, help us out, because we know threat intelligence is indicators of compromise, maybe hashes of files. What's the difference here?
Well, I guess there's been a sort of, threat intelligence is kind of like an overloaded term, really, isn't it? It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And there's part of the market that's about data feeds and that has some value. You can reconfigure your network in response to those. But I think really what we were trying to get to is the heart of you've got a scant set of resources. You want to work out how you can place those resources for best effect and do that in a tailored way around your own situation. So I guess if you place yourself in the shoes of an attacker and look at your infrastructure as an attacker would, and then look at the changes in behaviours over time, you're going to learn a lot more. So ours is more content-based, looking at tactics and motivations, and then looking at your own assets within the context of those threats.
Is there an element of we can't do everything that the security consultants tell us we have to do, so we have to focus on the things that are going to be most effective?
Absolutely. I think I think maybe vendors might view that there's these bottomless pits of budgets that people can go away and spend, and that's just not the case. People have limited resources available to them, and they need to know where to place those resources for maximum effect. So that's really, we imagine our client as being the security department with two guys in it with their hair on fire, trying to deal with all of this information they're getting around them. We're trying to filter out and tune out to just the things that those individuals need.
Help me differentiate the various segments, I guess, or sectors of this segment, because I've seen free threat feeds, I've seen aggregators of threat feeds.
Absolutely, yeah.
I see like lots and lots of information.
Yeah.
How does a customer actually go about getting it, using it, and applying it?
So I guess for something to truly be intelligence, it needs to be in context. So information in context that can help you mitigate a harmful event. That's how I describe threat intelligence. I suppose you've got the sort of feeds-based approaches which allow you to configure equipment to filter out things, but you've got to know why something was on one of those lists in the first place. You've seen some sort of enriched feeds, so things that have had some analysis done around it. So you've got a little bit of context there, which allows you to use it, and then you've got something that's had human insight involved in producing it. So it's a much lower frequency of output, but something that's had added value placed around it, so you know what your next step might be. And I guess that's really where we've focused our time.
All right, so the traditional role of an analyst in an intelligence organization.
So exactly. In fact, so we've taken people who work in intelligence organizations and combined them with we've given them technical information to combine with these traditional intelligence skills that do things like remove cognitive bias or provide a very honest assessment of what's going on, which can be based in fact.
Give me a feel for your current customers and how they use the product, maybe a concrete example.
So we were very fortunate. We started out in the financial services sector, so we actually did a lot of work early on in with tier one banks, as it happened, as they were quite early adopters of this type of technology. We've actually broadened out much further from there. So now we work with large supermarkets, we work with energy companies, utilities, pretty much anyone in a sort of larger enterprise who's got a job of defending an infrastructure from a variety of attacks.
So here we are in beginning of March in 2016, and there have already been 83 reported significant breaches, which probably indicates there's been 830.
Right.
What's been your perspective of the threat environment just in this year?
So I think we're probably seeing a lot more of what's out there, but I think we're also working in a much more complicated world. So our reliance on technology is going up; it's not going down, and because of that, we're seeing much more complexity in the attacks. At the same time, I think if you sat me here 2 years ago, I would have said that attackers are getting more sophisticated, but they're getting even more sophisticated. So we've seen things like hacktivists stealing data and publishing it online, and that used to be about DDoS and defacement. That's changed. We've seen a lot. 2015 was the year of extortion, right? And 2016, that doesn't look like that trend's going to stop. If anything, that's proven itself as a business model and one that will be continually pursued.
So what do you see as the biggest challenges facing security professionals across the board today?
So I think it's about where to apply the budgets in a meaningful way. So if you think of 10% of a revenue of a company tends to be spent on IT, and 10% of that tends to be spent on security. Where are you going to put? That's not actually very much money in the scheme of a larger enterprise. So where are you going to put that money for maximum effect? And let's face it, people aren't going to go out and buy every single thing off the peg. They need to make smart choices about things that make real sense. We believe that's, if you know what's going on around you from a security perspective, that's a really good place to invest.
So I see a lot of end users looking at threat intelligence as a way to enrich some of the data they already collect on their network and finally, hopefully, change a SIM into a useful thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think that intelligence comes from within the network as well as without.
Sure,
So, and it's the confluence of those that is the true thing for.
And is that where the
benefit.
deception vendors fit? I kind of view them as they're creating, they're gathering intelligence, but stuff that's on your network. So it's probably pretty valuable.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that can be learned from network forensics and understanding. So usually after the bang, isn't it? So some incident's been detected. What happened? What can we learn from what's happened? Of course, past behaviours aren't an indicator of future behaviour. So you need to sort of keep an eye about what's going on beyond your boundary as well, and what might be happening to other people in your industry. There's certainly some value in that. And most of all, what we believe is if you monitor the digital footprints of those threats, you can actually look at how they're shifting their behaviours, and you can use that in a useful and meaningful way to protect yourself.
So you recently opened an office here in the Bay Area, right?
That's right, yeah, just down the road in San Francisco.
And your original office was in London. So what drew you to the Bay Area when the financial clients are in New York?
Yeah, so a couple of things really. First of all, we were drawn to the US just as we found actually a lot of our clients were in the US and working there. Secondly, I think there's a very interesting technology. This is where technology companies are, and I think we understand that we're part of an ecosystem. It's really important that we can interact and be part of that ecosystem. So being here in the Bay Area, there's a lot of security companies around here. It allows us to look at how we interact and work with partners to produce something that's useful and meaningful for our clients. Added to that, it was at a time we're looking for investment, and again, the West Coast is a very good place to go for that investment.
Yeah, which was successful.
Which was indeed successful, yes.
So I've just looked at number of security vendors per country worldwide, and it turns out the UK is third after Israel. How do you characterize the startup cybersecurity environment in the UK?
It's a really exciting time in the UK at the moment. So the UK government has just published its security review, and as part of that, it's George Osborne, the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK, announced a £1.5 billion investment in cybersecurity companies, and there's a focus on building a sovereign cyber sector, just as the UK government recognises the importance of having sort of homegrown capability in this area. So it's a very, very exciting time. And in fact, it's wonderful to be part of that, and also proving that there's a lot of we've found that we can help a lot of our peers prove that there's a value in collaborating globally on this, and we've been drawn to the US, and I'm sure a number of them will be too.
Do you have the same issue that even Bay Area companies are having of finding the right people, and the cost of living is in London is easily as high as it is here in San Francisco?
Yeah, certainly. London's a very exciting city, and it brings with it the same challenges as other places. But I think one of the benefits that London has is you've got Europe on your doorstep. There's a lot of talent that comes from Europe and lands up in the UK. It's very easy to set up a business in the UK as well. So we do get some advantages from where we are. And actually the time zone's pretty handy for serving clients across the globe. It's really well placed for that, and that's why the financial services industry has done so well as well.
Cool. So what's the one thing you think is most important to achieve for your clients in 2016?
I think in 2016, I would say if clients can give themselves proper situational awareness, work out what's going on around them, look at themselves from the perspective of an attacker, and learn about what their environment's saying to them about the threats to them. That's the situational awareness is the one thing I think our clients would really benefit from.
Great. Thank you, James.
Thank you.